Hello, everyone. Welcome back to OpenLine. Glad you're with us. We are talking with Tim Takacs, elder law attorney, joining us via Zoom. And we have a call here. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to David. Hello, David.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
All right. Thank you all for taking my call. Got a question. Person's got everything paid off, his property. What is the pros and cons of doing a lifetime estate? And how long does it, I guess you've got to have your property in your name or in the doing a lifetime estate for a certain amount of years. What's the pros and cons to that? If you'll help me out, I appreciate it. Thank y'all. Have a good night.
Well, Thank you, David. All right. Explain what all that means.
Yeah, I think what David is referring to is that he owns some real estate, and that's paid off, and he, for whatever reason, he wants to protect it for maybe his family or his children or whatever, or doesn't want the nursing home to get it. So he's thinking about, well, if I don't own it, then the government or the nursing home can't take it from me. So one of the ways that people will look at, what they want to do with their real estate is they may transfer it to a third party, like a child or other family member, and then reserve what's called a life estate. So what that means is that the person, so let's say David says, okay, I want to transfer my house to my 3 children, but I want to retain a life estate. Basically what that means is that David has a right to live in the house for the remainder of his lifetime.
Oh, interesting.
So,
okay.
Yeah. So it means that he can live there. He has what we call an exclusive right of use and occupancy. He has to maintain the property, those sorts of things. And then when he dies, then title automatically invests in his 3 children, or whoever it is supposed to go to.
Oh, now this is all very interesting. This is fascinating, and it brings up several things. You said. Yes. One reason people might do this, and you thought the reason David is talking about it, is he's worried about the nursing home getting his home. And explain how that might happen. What do you mean by that?
Sure. What that means is, because he mentioned something about, how long you have to do this or whatever it is. And so what I kind of felt like surmised what he was getting at is that, well, if I go to the nursing home within the 5-year, a 5-year look back period. So basically it means that if you give money or property away, and then you go into a nursing home anytime within 5 years, and you try to apply for Medicaid benefits, then the Medicaid basically says, you can't do that because you gave away money or property within the last 5 years, so you wait till 5 years elapse, and then apply. There's a common perception out there that people think that the nursing home, that the nursing home's going to take your house. They don't do that. There's also a common perception out there that, if you go into a nursing home, then in order to get Medicaid benefits, that you have to sign your house over to the state of Tennessee. Neither one of those is true. So that I suspect that's probably what Tony is referring to when thinking about well, I should do I need to do this now? Should I how long do I have to do this? That's kind of where I think he's coming from.
When you gave those long list of questions at the beginning, what you help people work through, one of them was, should I kind of donate things or give things to my kids? And I always know the answer to that because
yes.
You're adamant. You always say, no, don't do it. Kids are irresponsible, dangerous, don't do it. So that's your advice.
Yes. And they are the most unreliable people on the planet.
You don't know what's going to happen to your stuff.
Yes, and they all say is, well, Mom, I'll hold it for you. If you need it, then I'll give it back to you. But what happens, is that there's some reason that the child can't give it back. There's some, so now here you are, if you're in the nursing home, you're stuck in a penalty period. The child can't give it back. Maybe maybe your grandchild had a illness, and so they come to you and say, well, we need your money, Mama, so we can pay for Johnny's illness. And then of course, what's Mom going to say? No, you can't do that. So there's all sorts of reasons why we say that we don't want it. We don't think that's a good idea. Instead you want to transfer the money or property into a trust, because frankly, if the child owns that asset, they okay. So let's say David says, well, I'll give it to my kids or something like that instead of a life estate because that's easier. Well, something bad can happen to the children. They can like they'll ride down the road and hit a bus full of school children. And what are they going to tell the parents of those children? The school children is, no, I'm just holding that money for my mother.
Right.
It doesn't work that way.
They would lose that money. Or a divorce. There's so many things that could happen.
All sorts of things.
That would divide that money up or you'd lose it. So the idea of a life estate, is that a good idea? I mean, that's kind of interesting. I think in that sense, you're not giving it to your kids until you're gone.
Until you're dead.
And
the problem is that, okay, so let's sort of think through that. What would happen if, okay, so he transfers his house to his children and retains the life estate. And if David could tell us what's going to happen to him in the future, that he's going to be able to live at that home, and nothing bad's going to happen to him for the rest of his life. He's going to stay there and die there, and he doesn't need to do anything else with the house, such as like sell it because let's say he can't live at home anymore, or he needs money to help take care of himself, and his asset is the house. It's not easy to sell a house, when you have a life estate on. I mean, who wants to buy? I'm not going to buy a life estate from David because, there's tables that will tell us that the value of his life estate is worth some amount of money. But if
that's
I buy
interesting.
it,
How could he sell it? That's a great point, because you would only
can't sell it.
have it as long as he's alive. So you can't sell it.
What would happen is that the children would have to join in the deed. So essentially, he signs the deed, and the children who have the remainder interest, that's what it's called, what they get after he dies, they would also have to sign the deed, and any one of those children could say, well, I'm not going to sign. Now we think they would, but what if one of those children has like medical bills, or one of the children have a lot of debt, then that money, then David doesn't get all that money back because he's already given some of it. He's already given the house away, so he's only retained a portion of it. And then the rest. So if they all cash in, some of that money goes to his children.
Right. And you're saying that we should not be so concerned, I think, or what are you saying about this TennCare? We always say the nursing home coming and taking your house. Mm-hmm. It's actually the government that does it to pay the bills. When
you're dead.
Right. Is that something we should be that concerned about?
No.
Because it sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, it does sound bad. The thing about it is that you start thinking about this and you're going, okay, so what should I do? If I go into a nursing home and Medicaid starts paying and I own a house, so what's going to happen to the house? Well, for one is that you don't need the house. And you wanted your children to have it. Most people don't wake up one day. They're healthy one day and they wake up next day and have to go to a nursing home.
Right.
It's typically a long progression before you get there. So that's why we tell people is that if you start developing an illness that may lead to nursing home care, and we all know what those are, like Alzheimer's, dementia, other forms of chronic illnesses that have a long period of time where you're likely to be, high functioning, over a number of years, and you just sort of dwindling down to a point. And that's a trajectory that is somewhat predictable. It may be a 5 to 7 year journey, if not longer. So when that starts happening to people, don't wait until it gets so bad that you run out of options. That's when you come in here, or you come into our office, or you come into some other attorney's office that does this type of planning and say, okay, now what do I do? I've got a diagnosis, which is likely to lead to needing a need for long-term care. So what are my options? How am I going to get the care that I need? How am I going to pay for this? Should I transfer property into a trust? What does that mean when I do that? What are the tax consequences of all that? All of those sorts of issues come into play. Now, what we think about that is that, okay, you come in when you need, when you're in that situation before you need nursing home care, and part of what you're planning for is, if and when I need nursing home care, I've got things in place, and it's, and I've got my assets protected. Now, the best plan under those circumstances is that, we want that plan. We don't want to go to the nursing home. So the best plan is you've done all this planning and you don't go to the nursing home.
Right.
That's a great outcome.
Right. So,
that is a great outcome. That's the outcome we want.
And that's what you should be planning for, or trying to achieve. That's all right. That's so interesting. All right, we have to take a break. If people want to call in, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS. Share your situation. Are you caring for a loved one? Do you have a question personally as you get older? This is a great opportunity. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.
Mm-hmm.